Bam, 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 bam. Knocking sounds, essentially. Someone was pounding on the door. I could hear them rattling the doorknob too. I could hear them screaming something, but couldn't make out what is happening. Their voice was muffled, as though they were underwater. Drawn by the sound, my front door approached me. What the fuck? Are we having a nightmare? Or maybe I was approaching it. The loud click of the lock seemed to reverberate throughout my hazy world. No, don't open it. For some reason my heart was gripped by a dark sense of foreboding. Run! Run! But the door slowly opened. My field of vision shrank. Or maybe I had backed away a few steps. Then the door opened fully. A woman was standing there. She appeared to be in her 50s. I thought I recognized her from somewhere, but couldn't quite place it. Maybe the vegetable woman in the hospital? Fury in her eyes, she stormed inside. Oh my god, will this game fucking end by us killing this woman in the hospital? Is she haunting everyone that ever had to do with her man? My vision shrank again, though whether from backing away or being pushed away I wasn't certain. Then the woman slammed my chest. She looked all around the apartment, wailing about something, but I couldn't make out what. She went around opening every door like she was searching for something. Unable to find it, she rounded on me, seizing me by the shoulders. I felt myself being shaken. Then she flung me hard to the floor and I landed on my rear. Next, she stormed over to the sliding glass door, whipped it open, and stormed out onto the balcony. Desperately, I crawled after her. Oh. Is it the landlady, maybe? I could see her peering over at the apartment next door. Then, screaming, she kicked open the partition between the two balconies. Stay away from there. I tried to get those words out, but couldn't. The woman crawled onto the neighboring balcony, then stormed into the other apartment. Inside were two younger women. One was Japanese, and the other a different Asian ethnicity. The Japanese woman seemed familiar, but I couldn't quite remember her either. Startled, the Japanese woman tried to stop the angry intruder, but the older woman shoved her away, then seized the Asian woman by the collar and began to strangle her. Or are we witnessing how they died? So the wife killed the mistress, and that's why the mistress is haunting this place. The Asian woman shook off her demonic attacker and dashed for the front door, but the older woman grabbed her by the arm and dragged her into the bathroom. The younger woman backed away to the corner of the room and the older woman struck her in the face. Damn. The Asian woman was frozen in fear as the older woman wrapped her hands around her throat and began to choke her once more. Instantly a pool of red formed at the corner of my vision. The floor. There was a puddle of blood on the floor. The woman's face was twisted in agony. No. You're going to fucking kill her.
Kae-san!
Suddenly, I felt myself being hauled up from the darkness.
Kae-san te wa doushitan desu ka?
Stop shouting at me. Dimly my mind came into focus. I opened my eyes to see Daigo-kun looking back at me. Where are we? Where were we? What the fuck was just happening? Was it really just a bad dream?
あれじゃないってば。悪い夢でも見ました？
悪い夢っていうか。
More like a vision, right? I sat up and Daigo-kun crouched down next to the bed, looking concerned. How did he notice? Were we just thrashing around in our sleep?
すごい声で叫んでたから。てっきりこの部屋にまで出たかと思って焦りました。
Okay. Daigo-kun sighed exasperately.
多分って。そんなレベルじゃないと思ったけど。
How could I even begin to explain what I'd seen? A dream in which some middle-aged lady barges into an apartment where two young women live. It was a pretty dramatic encounter, but I was clueless as to the surrounding circumstances. Are you dense, Kai?
何を見たんです？
Are you fucking dense? He propped his chin in his hands on the side of the bed, and I glanced at the clock on my nightstand. I'd woken up a bit earlier than intended. Going back to sleep was the last thing on my mind. So I dragged my sluggish body out of the bed. Then I realized the button down I was wearing as a makeshift nightgown was drenched in sweat. Sexy. I reached down and lightly touched his shoulder as he knelt on the floor. What?
よくわからないの。鬼のような顔の女の人がベランダを越えて二人暮らしの女性の部屋に殴り込みをかける夢。
何ですかそれ？
だからよくわからないけど、そういう夢。50歳くらいの女の人がすごい形相で怒鳴り込んできて、ベランダの仕切り板を蹴り飛ばして隣に入るのよ。で、若い女の子突き飛ばしてアジア系の女の人の首を絞め。
Sometimes things don't click until you say them out loud. Oh, she finally got it. Good job, Kai. You're the best again. Yep.
そうなのかしら。
It felt too real to be just a dream, but at the same time assuming it was real felt too easy somehow. No, why? You're in this fucking haunted place and you're suddenly surprised about visions and don't want to believe them? Really? You saw a goddamn ghost. Are you really dismissing the supernatural? Still, my dream was starting to fill in the gaps between all the bits and pieces. As I contemplated this, Daikokun stood up and opened the bedroom curtains. Beyond the window, the sun was barely peeking up from beneath the horizon.
まだ少し早いけど起きますか。そのうち内山さんが来ます。
そうね。
We met Uchiyama-san down on the ground floor. For whatever reason, he seemed strangely restless. Was it just my imagination, or did he look a little pale? Is it a ghost Uchiyama-san again, or is it a real one? Perhaps he was just nervous about exploring 202. First things first, we explained to him that the key we'd found at the Koyama residence was not actually a key to 202. He looked completely crushed. Then Daikokun continued.
でもこの鍵、このアパートの鍵であることは間違いなかったんですよ。
じゃあどこの部屋なんです？
実は201でした。
I chimed in. Uchiyama-san stared down at the key in my hand, then furrowed his brow and crossed his
じゃ
arms.
あ結局202には入れないってことで？
それがそうでもないんです。
As I spoke, I led them into the building. I bet the ghost won't show now. I took care to climb the staircase quietly since it was still fairly early in the morning. Then I stopped in front of the door to my apartment
ここ
201.
から202に入れるんです。行きましょう。
Yesterday, Daigokun was in charge, but today it was my turn to lead. Why? Feeling slightly nervous, I quietly unlocked and opened the door. My apartment was still dark. As I hesitated, Daigokun stepped in ahead of me, finally, followed by Uchiyama-san. I hurried after them. Daigokun cut across the main room to the balcony, then promptly opened the partition.
ここから隣に行けるんです。
なるほど。しかし窓は大丈夫ですかね？
I'm sure it fucking is.
行ってみないとなんとも。
Neither Uchiyama-san nor Daigokun looked terribly confident, but I had a strange feeling that it was, in fact,
と
unlocked.
にかく
Yeah.
行ってみましょう。
Daigokun nodded. He was the first to crawl through the partition opening, followed by me, then Uchiyama-san. He just wanted to stare at Kai's ass, didn't he? Once we reached 202's balcony, we could see just how empty the apartment looked inside. Empty and lifeless like a void. But perhaps that was only natural, considering nobody lived there. Yeah, nobody other than a ghost. Daigokun checked the door handle, then looked up.
ここから入れますね。
I knew it. I didn't question how I knew, I just did. The sliding glass door slid open effortlessly. And then, at last, we set foot inside apartment 202. The apartment was utterly empty. That much was to be expected. But it was also eerily cold. We had entered a part of the house that, in my apartment at least, served as the bedroom. The full-length partition door had been left open, and beyond it lay the large, empty living dining room. Assuming the layout here was the same as mine, the next room over was the kitchen. Next to the kitchen was the bathroom and toilet, separated by a wall. And then across from the bathroom was another room. After a quick glance around the empty bedroom, we moved to the living dining room, and Daikon glanced in the direction of the kitchen.
とりあえず一部屋ずつ見ましょうか。
There's not much to search here, is there?
そうですね。何かあればいいですけど。
I blinked. Strange. I thought I saw something swaying behind Uchiyama-san just now. Oh god, it's starting again.
結城さん、どうしました？
いえ、
The last time she thought she saw something behind him, it turned out that he was a fucking ghost. Naturally, nothing was there. Nothing could have been there. Nothing ought to have been there. After all, no one lived here. I don't know how you can make these statements if you at the same time know that there's a fucking ghost in here, and you know because you've seen it not twice, not thrice, but several times already.
とりあえずリビングダイニングは何もないみたいですね。
So he claimed, but to me something felt off. Something wasn't right.
カエさん、何か気になることでもある？
あるといえばあるんだけど。
I couldn't quite explain it. It just felt eerie.
とりあえずキッチンを見てみましょうか。
Daikon set off and Uchiyama-san followed after. Before I could follow, however, I stopped short. Sounds like someone running along barefoot. Was it just me or did I hear footsteps behind me? I glanced back and no one was there, but I thought I saw something move out of the corner of my eye.
カエさん？
先に調べてて。
My eyes were drawn to the far wall. Coincidentally, it was the wall that separated 202 from 201. Something felt off about it. As I pondered it absently, I heard the sounds of various cupboards and drawers being pulled open. They moved the fucking wall. There's a hollow wall there. Evidently the two of them had started a search. Honestly, I knew there wasn't much point in searching an empty apartment that nobody lived in. I glanced over and saw Uchiyama-san head into the room across from the bathroom. Then I glanced over at the balcony and saw the open partition door swaying. I couldn't help but think back to the dream I'd had this morning. I remembered climbing through the partition in pursuit of the older woman. But who was I? Thinking back, I recalled I'd reached out to stop her, with a hand much larger than my own. I shaded my eyes and squinted out at the balcony, hoping for a clearer look. Whose point of view was that? Was it the husband? No. Oh god, was it Daigo? I thought back to the older woman, the rage in her eyes, her twisted scowl, her messy hair. Was she someone I knew? It is the fucking wife. But where would I have met her? Where? Where? Suddenly I heard footsteps. I turned, thinking it was one of the others, but no one was there. Instead, I felt something brush against my calf. I looked down at my feet but didn't see anything. But when I twisted around to get a look at my calf, I noticed a little handprint there. It was like someone had touched my blue jeans with a wet hand. That's weird. The same wall that divided 202 and 201. Someone was pounding on it. Surely one of the others had heard me scream, and yet no one came to my aid. Desperate, I called his name, but only silence answered me in return. Go look for them. Before I knew it, I was standing all alone in the darkened apartment. But this wasn't any regular darkness. All color had been drained away. The world around me was silent and monochrome. The wall shook. The next instant I felt something cling to my leg. I staggered backwards and bumped into the kitchen wall. Instantly I felt something tighten like a vice grip around my neck. Don't go close to the walls, Jesus. I couldn't breathe. Then, the moment I opened my eyes, a memory flashed through my mind. I knew it. Pale hospital walls, the smell of medicine, lying beneath white sheets. Yep, that's her. The grip around my neck seemed to loosen. I gasped for breath, choking. I knew I'd seen her somewhere before. It was the older woman from my dream. I didn't realize at first considering how different she seemed while asleep, but it was undoubtedly Mrs. Koyama. The younger Japanese woman. Was that Yumihara-san from the newspaper articles? Desperate for help, I looked around the room, but then I realized. Finally, I understood exactly what felt off about the room. I shook off the hands clinging to my legs and neck, then crawled over and clung to the wall dividing our apartments. What? You don't think she's really still alive, do you? But I was spot on with my prediction that they moved the wall. Someone put her in there, I guess? Bam! She slammed the wall and I slammed back in response. The next thing I knew, color had returned to the world. The silence was broken.
Kae-san!
Yuki-san, どうしました?
I heard the two of them rush over. Apparently I was back.
カエさん、何があったんですか？どうして泣いてるんです？
I didn't even realize I was until he mentioned it. My tears seeped into the wallpaper. Oh, I guess she means the corpse, right? And because the corpse hasn't been found, that's why the ghost is spooking around.
ここって壁ですよ。
It also makes sense now why she's constantly banging and appearing in the wallpaper and stuff. That's fucking cruel. I glanced back at them and silently pointed to the balcony. More specifically, I was pointing to one end of the sliding glass door, right by the adjacent wall. Uchiyama-san set off to investigate right away, but Daigo couldn't pause to think.
カエさん、もしかしてここって
I gave a small nod. Oops, sorry for interrupting you, Daigo. The average person likely wouldn't have noticed the difference unless they lived here. In 201 there was about a 1-foot gap between the edge of the sliding glass door and the wall that separated the two apartments. That is to say, there was a foot of empty space in that corner. But in 202, that space was gone. The wall ran right up next to the sliding glass door. That was what felt off to me about the apartment. The wall had felt too close. Seriously, even if you don't live there, you would notice stuff like that immediately, wouldn't you?
そうか。コンクリの壁がむき出しって業者は言ってた。まさか。
Yep.
この中にエミーナさんはいます。
Yep. In the space between the walls. If for whatever reason Emina-san was murdered, and her body was hidden in this wall, then that meant Yumihara-san's death probably wasn't a suicide. Let's open this news article yet again and hope that it doesn't fucking stay forever. Skeleton found in apartment wall in alleged The Black Cat copycat crime. Earlier this afternoon, skeletal remains were discovered inside a wall on the second floor of Châtelet Roman apartments in M City. According to police reports, they had received an anonymous tip the previous night. The body believed to be that of a young woman. The body believed that to be of a young woman has yet to be formally identified. Police are investigating the case as a possible concealment of a homicide. Residents of Châtelet Roman apartments have noted a concerning similarity between the case and The Black Cat, an 1843 short story by American writer Edgar Allan Poe. I don't know that one, but okay.
警察。
待って。
Uchiyama-san had started to pull out his cell phone, but I stopped him. Something was still bothering me. Maybe Emine-san was lashing out at other tenants because she was trying to get someone to realize she was there. Yes. Makes sense. But it felt like there was more to it than that.
大吾くん、浴室は見た？
He nodded.
何もなかったけど。
そう。
Yeah, it has something to do with water, right? And I think it's two ghosts. I couldn't stop thinking about the thing that had dragged itself through my office, which shared a wall with 202's bathroom. I slipped past the two men and headed into the bathroom. With no windows, the bathroom was as dark as night. I could see some lime build up on the faucets, but otherwise nothing of note. When the dream flashed through my mind again, or rather, then the dream flashed through my mind again. The puddle of blood on the floor, the blood flowed into the drain. Woman, affair, blood. Slowly but surely the puzzle pieces began to come together.
まさか。
Hands shaking, I removed the drain cap. Beneath sat a small mesh drain protector, designed to catch hair and other unwanted blockage. Oh jeez, it has to fucking smell horrible. There was a dark lump stuck to the mesh. It was dry and stretched and unmistakably not a clump of hair. I couldn't say for certain what it was, not yet anyway, but I had a theory.
それ、何ですか？
I looked up at him. He seemed a little uneasy. Perhaps this was something only a woman would understand. What? Oh god. Seriously? Perhaps this was something only a woman would understand. Please, do not let it be a little child. Fuck me. Or baby. Or, like, a stillborn. It was nothing I'd experienced personally, but it was too difficult to wind up at the conclusion that...
妊娠してたんじゃないかな。
Jesus Christ. I heard the two men gasp behind me. In order to preserve the evidence, I put the drain cap back in place, then slowly rose to my feet.
出ましょう。きちんと弔ってもらわなくちゃ。
でもそうなると。
ええ、大家さんにちゃんと聞かなきゃね。本当のこと。
After that, we left 202 without another word. Somehow it felt more peaceful in there. Maybe she was relieved we finally found them. Or happy that someone realized she was gone. As we slipped through the balcony partition, I heard a tiny knock on the window behind us.